Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City, welcome to the Wednesday edition Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Scott Rabelais with us for the first couple of segments here today, and Max Gautreaux is on site. Randy McKay previewing the Saints today as they open camp. Wes Reynolds with his weekly golf picks and our consensus golf picks brought to you by the offices of O.C. Brown. Today is what a lot of people would consider. Everybody's got their different when does football season start. For some people, it's media days. For some people, it's start of camp. Some people, it's preseason games. Some people, it's not until the actual practices with pads start. And some people, not until the first game of the season. But today's kind of one of those benchmark days. Rab, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, Charlie. I'm well. I heard the intro, and it said, Charles Hannegriff and Jimmy Ott.
Jimmy's still on vacation,
right?
Until further notice.
I remember. Yes, I used to watch some soap operas when I was a kid, like especially in the summer. And if someone was filling in, they'd say, "Playing the role of Jimmy Ott today is Scott Rabelais."
Right. Well, you remember toward the end of Carson's career, where Joan Rivers was actually hosting the Tonight Show more nights a year than Carson was.
Right.
Okay, that's kind of how the summers are around here. Sometimes,
I went to the Tonight Show one time.
I did too, not with Carson. I went with Leno.
Yeah,
once.
Leno was filling in for Carson when I went.
Toward
thought,
the end of Carson's career, there were more days that he didn't do the show than he did.
And I thought, oh, cool, Jay Leno. I think he's cool. And I thought, wait a minute. Johnny Carson is going to retire, and I'll never have a chance to see him in person.
Right. Anyway, so Jimmy's still on vacation. But the first day of LSU for a lot of people is the Rotary. And if only because it officially ends what thankfully is a fairly brief talking season, okay? Talking season begins with the media days, and then it goes through. Used to go through with LSU had their own individual media days, but that's in the past now. Nobody really does that anymore since the NCAA charges you a practice day for it. So the Rotary was always the last big media event before camp started, and that's the case again this year. So you got to see Lane Kiffin last week in the main room, which we all saw that. Nice speech. And you guys got to work with him a little bit off to the side as well as the players, and you're with us a little earlier today because you're going to the Rotary.
Right.
I've never been to this. We do the show during this thing every year, so I've never been to this event, but I've seen all the clips and all the excerpts and all that stuff. Is it safe to say that this is the most lighthearted, breezy media appearance of the year for the LSU coach?
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, please tell me, because like I said, I've never been to this thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Lane was there. Like I said, we had what we call a scrum before he goes to the main podium. They bring him and the three players into a room, or the LSU coach. It's his first time, of course. And Lane was making jokes because he got asked a couple of questions, and he said, "Well, you're stealing my thunder. This is what I'm going to say on the podium." And then another one, he said, "Well, as I just said on the podium," because this all came out afterwards. People are recording.
He memorized his talking points. It's fine.
So I would say yes. Lane, as well established, his most comfortable medium is not standing behind a podium and talking to people. It wasn't in Tampa. It's not going to be today at the Rotary Club. It's
that's why I'm asking.
Smaller groups. I thought he was great with us in that room, and it says interesting things. And I thought he was great on the SEC Media Days stage, the SEC Network stage with Saban and Dari Noka and those guys. So
this is tell a joke, right? I mean, I know they do. They talk about the team, they talk about the year and all that stuff. He could do all afternoon on just what's happened to him from when he left Oxford to here. But this is more tell a joke, tell a story about it has the has the theme of how I spent my summer vacation type of deal.
Les Miles really went off on one time for about 10 minutes.
Well, he brought Snoop Dogg one year, okay?
Yeah, at Boudreaux's right down the street.
Yeah. He brought Snoop Dogg. That should tell you how much seriousness, I guess, is brought to this one. So we'll see how he does. Like you said, it's not his most comfortable format, but we'll see how he does today. Tell a joke, go steal some material, just make everybody laugh for a couple of minutes.
And he can. He told the story about Terry Saban, sprinkling the holy water on the field, and because it's voodoo in Tiger Stadium, and that was good. He can. I think he says a lot of interesting things, and when he talks, a la Nick Saban, who, by the way, once told a Skip Bertman joke at media days, and it fell as flat as this table. I'm like, he started telling it, and I knew the joke he was telling because I heard Skip tell it very well, of course. What can we agree? Skip Bertman's the best storyteller we've ever covered.
Yes.
And Nick started telling the joke. This is many years ago when he was LSU's coach, obviously. And I go, oh no, he's going to tell the joke. Yeah. Talk about a bomb.
Yeah, Skip can tell a story. The inflection, the everything is perfect the way Skip does it. Now I don't expect that type of performance, but no, he can tell a joke. I thought he was funny when he was up on the panel with Benjamin Watson, the former Georgia tight end, Saints. Was with the Saints for a while. And he said, I'm really looking forward to seeing Tre'Davious Green. And I'm paraphrasing here. Kiffin said something like, we're going to put him in the B gap and have him block all year. Which, okay, that's a joke, right?
Let me tell you, Tre'Davious Green, by the way, when I asked him, I said, are you excited about how they're using this offense? I don't know if I've ever seen a bigger smile on an LSU football player other than Whit Weeks, who smiles all the time.
You know what it reminded me of when he did that? Because he said after that, I'm always open. I'm always open. It reminded me of when Bill Walsh started running the West Coast offense, of a quote from Dwight Clark, the late Dwight Clark. And it's, what do you like about this offense? I'm always open. Mm-hmm. Because when I go to, when we go to the sideline in practice and Walsh tells us, line up in this formation, run this route, in this situation, you're going to be by yourself. You are going to be 10 yards from the nearest defender. And he goes, and he's always right. And when I think of those plays where Kiffin calls a play, and it's usually a play-action pass of some kind, play action, quarterback drops, hits the back foot, and Kiffin's already thrown the clipboard. He already knows before the ball's even released that this is going to be a touchdown. Yeah. That's what it reminded me of when Tre'Davious answered that question that way. Let's hope it, comes to fruition, but that's what it reminded me of. This offense is extremely friendly to a lot of different positions, not just a quarterback.
Exactly. He was having a good time doing. Of course, T.J. Dottery was there, who was at Media Days last year representing Ole Miss. Yeah. And they brought him. I thought that was interesting. And Whit Weeks coming back, and I had to ask him. I felt like a gossip columnist. I said, I felt like Rona Barrett. Max.
How's your relationship going?
Yeah. I said, how much of an influence was Landry Kiffin, Lane's daughter? Was she in you coming back? It's his girlfriend. And he said, not really that much. The biggest thing was Blake Baker, coming back for another year. I really wanted to play for him for another year. But they're still going strong. Although she's in New York this summer, I think, interning. She wants to be like a fashion designer. Anyway, I digress. The biggest thing, Charlie, if I may say, I don't know if you're going there or not, but I do want to get this in, is that it felt like Lane Kiffin was there all 4 days, because he was being talked about. He was people were bringing his name up, and obviously Pete Golding was there. Kirby Smart called him the Adonis of coaches and a troll. And it felt like he was there all 4 days. And people can debate. A lot of people, Lane detractors, would say, "Well, he hasn't done that much yet," and you can say that. He is the second winningest coach among after SEC coaches. I was surprised to see that when I was writing my column for today. But he's in everybody's head.
Why? I understand why he's in Ole Miss's head. Okay. Yeah. I might even be able to buy a little bit of why he's in Tennessee's head, although I think enough time has passed that you should just get over it. I don't understand why he's in Georgia's head. I mean, they beat him last year at Ole Miss, but LSU doesn't play Georgia this year. Kirby's got enough resume. Why would he be in – and maybe he's not. Why would he be in anybody other than Ole Miss and maybe Tennessee's head?
It's the personality. It's the obviously the whole social media thing, which obviously he's been off of pretty much all summer. I think there's the acknowledgement that this is why Ole Miss people hate him so much. It's the reason LSU fans hated Saban when he went to Alabama. They're fearful of what he could do at a place like this. At a place like this, you see what he did what he was building up to at Ole Miss, and they're fearful of what could happen when he's at LSU. So.
I didn't prep you for that question, but that's what I thought you were going to say. And I'll tell this quick story. It's another Media Days story, but it's a story from Media Days in the year 2000, okay? Jimmy and I had been going to Media Days for 5 or 6 years, right about the beginning of DiNardo, 4 or 5 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. And we made friends with media from Tennessee and Florida, who were the two real heavies at the time. And we're all good guys. We go out and eat and have drinks and all that stuff. And they would talk about football like they were on another level from LSU, because they were. And it's like, DiNardo, he's a nice little coach, Yeah. And I remember one year there was a transfer. I don't remember his name, but he's a linebacker. And they were talking about whether he would go to Florida or Tennessee. And the Tennessee guy says, well, they're going to take a look, but they don't really know if he's that good. This guy's a good player. And Florida's like, if he was really good, we'd take a look at him. But, this elitist, hey, look, we're on this level. And LSU, DiNardo's a nice coach. You got maybe even the Peach Bowl this year, and then Saban got hired, and the joke stopped. It's like, yeah, good coach, just real quiet. Yeah, good coach. Yeah, that was a good hire for you guys. It's like, welcome to the grown-ups table. Okay, That's kind of how it feels. Like, we can make fun of Lane when he's at Florida Atlantic. We can make fun of Lane when he's at Alabama getting fired before the national championship game. You can even make fun of Kiffin at Ole Miss, although do it at your own peril, because he beat a lot of people, including LSU.
Yes.
Now he's got everything he needs. Okay. Well, he's just a troll. It's like, welcome to the grown-ups table. That's how I see it. Could blow up on him, I don't know, but that's what I see.
I think that's it. I mean, everybody recognizes the acumen and that he's grown. I think he's grown as like we're kind of what we were talking about before the show started, Charlie. If I've learned anything about human nature, people want to put people in boxes and just label the box and put it on a shelf. He's this.
I do it for 2 hours every day, Scott. It's been a nice living doing it. But yes, go ahead.
And that's how they are with Kiffin. And he was rocky for him with the Raiders, and he left Tennessee after 1 year and USC. But, the last couple of head coaching stops have been pretty good. I mean, FAU, say what you want of FAU, but he did win there.
He won a lot there.
And Ole Miss brought them to the kind of success they hadn't had since the early 60s. And so this is, he's grown. It's like, and we don't know what's going to happen, but I think I'm reminded a little bit of what happened when Saban went to Alabama. He was really good at LSU. He perfected his craft by the time he got to Alabama with a program with their kind of resources, and I think the potential is there. Nobody's done anything yet. The potential is there for him to follow a similar path. I'm not saying he's going to win 6 national championships at LSU, but a somewhat similar path in Baton Rouge, and that's why everybody's excited, and that's why people are trepidatious about him. And like you don't have to like people say he's like to say I like him as a person. I've never met a lot of football coaches who were really great people, quite honestly.
Well, they're
that's not a requirement for the job.
They're in a bubble for a lot of the things. And one more thing about the Rotary is that most of the coaches that I've seen come through here that did that really liked it because they could go. It's like I said, it's lighthearted and all that, but after that, it's ball.
That's right.
Yeah. Next time you see him, he'll be on the practice field. The whole team is there. It's ball. It's camp. Coaches love to practice. Love it.
And he mentioned that in
Tampa. That's the whole thing that attracts him. So, I got to go give one more speech. I'm thinking along with it. I got to go give one more speech, and then it's about ball. I don't really have to talk about Ole Miss anymore. Maybe the week of the game, but I can just say, hey, we're concentrating on, we're concentrating on Clemson, okay? I don't have to talk about the Vanity Fair thing anymore. I don't have to talk about anything but ball after today. Most coaches embrace that, and I think he will too. I also think that the rest of the media is, and the teams in the league are hoping to get shots in on him this year, because I suspect this is only going to get better. This year's team, I think, will be good. But I don't think they're going to win 12 games, run the table. I don't think they're going to win the national championship. I think they're going to be a good team, and they may be a playoff team. But it's kind of a get him while you can. The Saban thing that first year when ULM beat them and LSU beat them and they lost 6 games, I think it was, get him now, because when he has everything in alignment, like that word a lot, right, then it's going to be – I suspect LSU will be better next year than they are this year, and I think they'll be better the year after that. That's what they hired him for. This is the transition year. Get him while you can. And they may not get him this year. I don't know. That's kind of my read on it. Anyway, they serve good food at the Rotary? You're gonna miss the lunch here.
I don't think they serve us
No
lunch
food?
anymore.
Oh,
no,
man.
The media's just there to watch. I might get a bottle of water.
Big event coming up for Roca Pizzeria. The Negretti wine tasting is on August the 26th. It's a huge selection of curated fine wines with chef-crafted bites. It's a terrific evening. Flavor and conversation. You go to rocapizzeria.com to buy tickets. Or if you're more of a tequila person than a wine tasting person, of course, the owners here at Roca also own Modesto, where we are quite often, where you were with us the last time you were with us. Their tequila dinner pairing is August the 6th. It's from 6 until 8:30 p.m. Premium Distillery Leyenda de Mexico Tequilas. Reserve your spot at eatmodesto.com. Eatmodesto.com for the tequila dinner, and rocapizzeria.com for the curated fine wines of Negretti. That is on August the 26th for the wine tasting and August the 6th for the tequila tasting. Scott Rabelais did a very, very foolish thing in this morning's newspaper. I'll tell you about that when we come back. Live at Roca, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive at 8445 Segan Lane, just off of Perkins, between Perkins and I-10. It's the only place I take my vehicle. Jason Payne, going to give you an honest deal. Not going to upcharge you for unnecessary work. Now, because of it, he has so much repeat business that it's busy. If you bring it in and it's too busy at that time, he will schedule a more convenient time for you and for them. So you're not just sitting around. You come in, they want you busy, and you just sit there and wait and wait and wait for hours upon hours upon hours. Not going to happen at K&M Automotive. Tell them you heard it right here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. My buddy Jason Payne at K&M Automotive, 8445 Segan Lane, just off of Perkins, across Segan from Ambrosia Bakery.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. It's brought to you by Supreme Rice, celebrating 90 years in business in 2026. Support our Louisiana farmers and go to SupremeRice.com. Scott Rabelais is our guest for one more segment before he heads to the Rotary. And Lane Kiffin's final, I guess, public appearance before, I think it's his final public appearance, so hold me to that, but his final thing before they start camp next week. Scott, you decided to rank all 16 coaches from 1 to 16 in your column today. I remember when Feinbaum used to do this, he said it made him so popular that at least 2 of the coaches in the league were still speaking to him. So apparently you decided you had too many friends and decided you would make some enemies. Pretty easy at the top with Kirby Smart, but I'll let you go. There's not a whole lot of explanation needed there. But you picked up with Kiffin right after that at number 2.
Yeah, like I said, the career has trended up, recently, because compared to his first few head coaching stops, over Steve Sarkisian, who's, 35-8 the last 3 seasons in Austin with a couple of playoff appearances. I'm nagged by last season though, and obviously Lane's credibility shot up with how Ole Miss did this past year, and he set them up for the playoff run they were. And I was nagged by how Texas just looked very sluggish through much of the season. There's no excuses this year, and they should be they should be a great team. He gets tough though sometimes. Like Kalen DeBoer, I think he's semi on the hot seat, but they just give him a contract extension. He hasn't done. They've done a couple of good things at Alabama, but they got smoked their last time out by Indiana in the Rose Bowl, and he just doesn't. There's just no fear factor there. I think he's a good coach and seems like a decent guy, but there's no fear factor. And when he went up on the podium, I don't know if you saw Stephen A. Smith just skewered him. He's saying, I don't feel like I've judged my career by national championships.
Yeah.
He kind of walked that back lately. Clark Lee was an interesting one. Obviously, his credibility shot up. We all want to see what he does without Diego Pavia this year. And, I feel like I put John Summerall's 10th, the new Florida coach from Tulane. I'm just, as I put in my column, his resume is awfully Billy Napier-ish at this point. The last four coaches have just gotten chewed up and spit out in Gainesville since Urban Meyer. Well, that's a question too about
and look, you got to go back. There've been way more bad coaches at Florida than good ones. If you're going to the 80s, to Spurrier's hiring in '89, they hired two of the best to ever do it, Spurrier and Meyer. Besides that, I mean, it's a long line of Ron Zooks and Jim McElwain's and the like. I don't know. I don't think it's fair to lump Summerall into the Billy Napier column. I understand he will be because he coached at a Louisiana school at in a non-power league. I didn't think that was fair when Napier was up for the jobs. Now it didn't work out, but judge him on his merits and not, like you said, that box that you want to put everybody in. Would you? And I didn't have a whole lot of quibbles with your list. I have to tell you that I really appreciate you on the little thumbnails. I don't know if this was you or the editor putting the coaches' ages. Next to him. That was you?
Yeah.
Okay. It reminded me that I'm older than all of them except for Brent Venables. So thanks for that.
Venables, well, I'm older than all of them. So
Venables is a year older than me. I'm older than the rest of them. So thanks for that. Mike Elko at number 5.
Yep.
I'm pretty high on him. The more I look back at their season last year. Able to, maybe they got a little bit fortunate at Notre Dame, but they were 11-0, man. They were knocking on the door to have everything they wanted, and then it went south on them. They took South Carolina too lightly. They got out barely.
Lucky to win.
Very lucky to win there. That was the letdown game. But when you win the letdown games, especially when you can at least take something from that. Texas, I thought, was just a little bit better that night in Austin. If they'd have played that game in College Station, I don't know if the results would have been reversed. And then you had a weather event alongside a ferocious Miami defensive line. So when I looked back at it again, it didn't look quite as bad, maybe, as you just say, well, late season collapse. So in his third year, got a returning quarterback. He's got 18 guys starting for him this year going into camp that started somewhere next year. See, Max is already laughing at me because he knows it. We've gone back and forth on the A&M stuff. I think A&M is a dark horse to win the league. I understand the schedule, but find me an easy one because I don't know that exists. If I had to pick a team with the proper odds, what kind of overlay am I getting, I would probably take A&M. And I don't know that they're going to win the league, but if you're asking me I don't want to take the favorites. The favorites are too short. It's too close for Georgia and Texas for me to take a shot there. And I'm probably not going to be comfortable with a first-year coach putting my money. I would take A&M. That's just me. It doesn't mean anything as far as LSU is concerned. I just think that they are set up. When Lane Kiffin gets to year 3, I'll probably feel the same way about him. What do you think about Elko?
I think he's good. Like you say all the time, Charlie, good with a chance to be great.
Yeah.
I get history weighs on me a lot of times, and I think 1939 is the last time they won a national championship at Texas A&M. For all they have enough money, as the comedian Eddie Izzard said, enough money to make Solomon blush. But they always seem to run with their shoes tied together. And November just struck me as November into the playoff in December. They lost something. They looked like the best team in the country when they beat the snot out of LSU here in October and forced LSU saying to fire Brian Kelly. But after that, they just seem to lose something off their fastball. That's the thing that makes it so tough. That's what's going to be so tough about the SEC with a 9-game schedule this year. Who, by the way, not too many fans among the coaches. Doesn't hear anybody stand up at the podium last week and say, "I love the 9-game schedule. I think this is great."
What if your editor stood up in front of a staff meeting and said, "We are now instituting a policy here that's going to give you a fill-in-the-blank greater chance of being fired."
Right.
15% chance, 20% chance, 30%, whatever you think it is. If your editor did that, if my program director did that, that's what the SEC commissioner stood up and said, "Hey, I'm going to institute a policy with this 9th game that's going to make it more likely that you're fired." No, I'm not surprised that it doesn't have a whole lot of popularity.
And the playoff didn't expand, which I think it will eventually. I think we all think it will eventually. But, Elk, look, they did a good job, and they should. Texas A&M, they should win. But it's always been hard. Historically, for Texas and Texas A&M, it seems to be very good at the same time. We'll see how they fight it out, and certainly there's enough players in Texas. I don't know. I'm still a little more wait and see on Texas. I guess what it comes down to, a little more wait and see on the Aggies.
The historical thing is true. I mean, and you can put it now on Elko too, but because of what happened to them last November and December. But I look at what he inherited, which was he had to get things organized. He did. He had a reasonable first year, made a big jump in the second year. And a lot of times you see this, okay? You make that big jump in year 2, and then you've really got your program in place. Think about Saban here in 2000. 2000 was an improvement over 1999. 2001, they made the big jump. They won the league. I think 2002, they were set up to win before Mark got hurt, and then they make the national championship in year 4. That's a reasonable timeline, and A&M's kind of on it right now. Now, let me reference one more old quote. It's a lot easier to go from 7 wins to 11 than it is to go from 11 to now, 14, 15, 16, whatever it takes you. But that's kind of my deal.
Charlie, I wonder if there are odds. There aren't, but I wish there were on team to make the top 5 of the rankings at some point this year. I think A&M,
at some point.
I'm looking at their schedule. I see a real path to 7-0. Or their November schedule is really tough. They host Tennessee, at Oklahoma, and then Texas in the last 3 games. That's a tough stretch. But they're pretty manageable until November. And so I think they could be in the mix at least into November.
I've looked at that too, and I don't know how good Tennessee is going to be in November. That's a problem for LSU as well. Oklahoma thinks they're really good. Did you get that on Monday of last week?
Yes.
That was a theme of Monday. Oklahoma's really good. Okay, thanks for telling me because I didn't know. They think that the quarterback is healthy, Mateer, and that he wasn't really last year. So I don't know how good they are in November. I'm confident that Texas will be really good in November. Maybe not championship good, but they'll be really good in November. Oklahoma and Tennessee, I don't know as much. They could be.
I mean, Charlie, if we talked about the game at LSU.
Yeah.
That's their toughest game until November. I mean, I guess at Alabama late in October, you got that as well. But outside of that, all the other games are very manageable.
They're at Alabama?
They're at Alabama before their bye week.
That's tough. And it's 7 weeks in a row at that point, I think. They don't have a bye week.
They play 8 weeks.
8 weeks in a row. All right, so that's tough. Because if you ask Mike Elko this summer, say, okay, you got to play LSU and you got to play them in Baton Rouge. We'll let you pick any week that you want to play them. I'd pick this week. Give me the week that they come off of the Ole Miss game. That's when I want to play them.
Yeah, that's very fair. Well, do you think any team will get through the SEC regular season undefeated?
I do not.
Okay,
I do not.
The key is not losing to someone you should beat. You're expected to beat, right?
Max, how many teams do you do this off the top of your head? How many teams are favored in all our SEC games preseason? Georgia and Texas might be it.
LSU's favored in 7 out of 8.
Yeah, I outside of the top 2, I don't.
By ESPN,
I don't know that anybody else is favored in all 9, and even
I'm old school. 7 out of 8, 8 out of 9. Yes,
yeah.
Right.
Texas at LSU and A&M. Would they be favored in both those?
November's tough. If Texas were playing LSU in the opener in Tiger Stadium, Texas would be favored. Now, I don't know about November. November's a long way off. But if they were playing them in the opener, Texas would be favored.
Georgia's at Bama and at Ole Miss.
Georgia should be favored at Alabama, but again, the ghost of Christmas past. They can't ever seem to get over that.
That's right.
That particular one.
That's true.
Scott, we gotta let you go. Enjoy the Rotary. Laugh at the jokes, man. Make him feel make him feel comfortable. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Thanks,
I'll be in camp when we get there.
All right.
Live here at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. Happy hour Tuesday through Friday from 2 until 6 p.m. with half off all house cocktails, draft beer, and glasses of wine. To do a robust bar business here, but your happy hour drink prices are not just good at the bar, good throughout the whole restaurant here at Roca. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yes, don't forget our friends at Go Chevrolet in LaPlace, Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine, Go Chevrolet West in Plaquemine, and Go Ford in Waveland, Mississippi. My buddies Lee Carney and Nick Richard doing a wonderful job. Mention my name, Jimmy Ott, for VIP pricing. Whether you're in the market for a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle with extension of the factory warranty. We have a certified body shop as well, and our concierge service department. There's nothing like it. You talk about convenience on a different level. I don't just talk about the great vehicles from the Go Automobile Dealership family. My Tahoe came from Go Chevrolet in LaPlace. The Go Automobile Dealership family.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge. Uh-oh, they let the big dog out.
Boom! Out of nowhere.
It's time for the big dog, Randy McKay, with his best picks.
And return here at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. Come by and see us for lunch here at Roca. Randy McKay enjoying the late summer, and we're into our NFL previews now. Big Dog, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. A little hot up here, but a lot of optimism coming into the fall here, and optimism for the team we're going to talk about.
I'm not even going to ask you what a little hot up here means. It's 97 degrees here today in Baton Rouge, and it feels it. I'm just thankful that I'm not on a practice field like they are in New Orleans or like they will be in Baton Rouge next week because it's going to be a long month of August. But we did put the Saints today for our NFL previews because they are in their first practices today. So let's take a look at New Orleans. They are our current odds here at the Bally's and the Queen DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 9,000 to win the Super Bowl. They are plus 265 to win the division. The favorite is Tampa Bay at minus 164, Carolina at plus 310, and the Atlanta Falcons at plus 425. The win total here at 7.5. It's minus 120 the over. Even money to the under. Saints are plus 184 to make the playoffs and minus 225 to not make the playoffs. So let's talk about some of these things as we look at New Orleans and your thoughts on the Saints.
Yeah, like I said before, optimism with this team. I can just go right away to how they finished up last year. Covering 7 out of the last 8 games, winning 5 outright, and that's in that situation. And I like teams that have optimism coming into the next season. You guys got a nice price there on the division. I wouldn't bet them to make the playoffs, but to win the division, because the NFC South's only going to have one representative, in my opinion, plus 240. Looks like a really good situation there for the Saints, especially with this latest coming out of Atlanta now with both their quarterbacks being down. I was actually kind of high on the Falcons team, but too much question mark there now, so I got to bump the Saints up above them. A little lower on Tampa this year just because with their contracts and things that are going on with that team, especially on defense, and then a little lower on Carolina's tough schedule scares me. So I see value on the plus 240 winner here with the Saints.
And we get them at plus 265 here in Baton Rouge, so an even better number. Randy, I know you're very big on how the schedule lays out insofar as certain dates to watch, and you even look at this before the season goes. The Saints have a very uneven schedule when it comes to home game and road games in the order that they're in. after their first 2 games on the road, they play 6 games out of 7 that are not at a true road site. Then they come back and play 4 out of 5 that are on true road sites, and they will be probably an underdog in all 5 of those games with the Packers in the Superdome stuck in between there. So given these long stretches of home games, long stretches of road games, are there spots in the schedule where the Saints are a play or a go against?
Yep, there's actually 2 of them that I've identified on the schedule here, and the first, they start off with 2 tough teams. At Detroit and at Baltimore aren't 2 easy games. If they split, they would take it probably right now without even asking. But,
absolutely.
I don't see that happening. I see them probably 0-2, which means must have a game with those Dirty Birds I just talked about coming in week 3 here, and I see that as a play-on situation because they get 3 straight home games here. And I guess the first game is against Las Vegas, excuse me. So against Las Vegas, they're that first game, and they're a small favorite there. I see that being a great situation there, going against probably be Kirk Cousins, won't be Mendoza by then unless there's an injury. But, you got a young Raider team coming into the Dome there. Must have a game. That's a great situation.
And you said there were 2. Where's the second one?
There's a tricky play against spot here in, week 16. They're home against an Arizona team that I think is going to be a little better than expectation. Everybody thinks they're going to be the worst team. They're just in a worse division, or one of the toughest division. They're by far the worst team, and they got a very tough schedule. But this is in between 2 conference games here. They got Tampa Bay the week before and Atlanta. So they'll play all out against that, and then coming home with a little confidence against Arizona could be a very tricky spot, especially if they're like a 6-7 point favorite there. So that could be a little scary spot there late in the season for the Saints as they come down to their playoff run.
Where do you have Kellen Moore in your coaches' rankings to open his second season?
Well, and like I've said many times on this show, I always have the rookie coaches ranked real low to start before I get to know them. And, of course, guys like Mike McDaniel, the Seattle coach, who really jumped up. And Kellen Moore, excellent job in his first year, outperformed all expectation. Only got 6 straight-up wins. But you look at the against the spread, which gets us the money 9-8, with some nice outright dog victories there. Very good job his first year. You can tell he commands the offense with Tyler Schuck. And, you got this rookie wide receiver coming in. So, they got a couple rookie wide receivers. They got Tyson and North Dakota State Bryce Lance. So, they're going to be young there in the wide receiving core. But we'll see if they get that running game going. That's going to be the most important thing for this offense. And an improving offensive line is really another thing to add to this team that I think that'll help them with that.
There couldn't be much more optimism around Tyler Schuck locally that I could imagine. The Saints have been on a hard target search for a quarterback since Drew Brees retired. They think they got their guy. Give me some eyes from outside of the market. What's realistic to expect from him in year 2?
Yeah, just to see how he reacts with these new wide receivers. Of course, he's got Olave there, and a couple other, the tight end's a pretty good weapon that he's used to. And then, of course, some of those swing passes, he's got Kamara probably be their third down back. Etienne's a good wide receiver as well, or good running back option. But, I expect him to keep improving, he didn't come in until later in the season, and he showed a lot of good signs there. And like I said, it's important for them to get a good running game to, not so these, passing all the time. And their defense should help out a little bit too with improving unit there as well, and a couple ads on the defense. So that's another improving spot for the Saints that should get them over the top this year. And with his play, hopefully they, like I said, that division price looks like a pretty nice option for a bet there.
And just in the first day really, but the first week Carolina was in a little bit early. Something negative has happened to all three of the teams in the division so far. The Panthers lost Nick Scourton, who was a starting linebacker at the end of last year on the very first day of camp. Tua's already out in Atlanta, although they don't think it's all that serious. And Baker Mayfield's going to go to camp without a contract. And Vita Vea, one of their better players, says that he wants a trade. So I'm just looking for a clean camp, Randy, for the Saints. Just stay away from the big injuries that's every year, and give me a quiet, drama-free camp, and I'm going to feel pretty good about the Saints. Plus 265 to win the division. You said go with the Saints when they play Las Vegas in Week 3, against them when they play Arizona in Week 16. Try to stay cool, Randy. I know it's tough, man. If you were here, it'd be a lot tougher. So enjoy the rest of your summer. Jimmy will be back from Del Mar next week, so we'll pick back up. I think we're going to circle back around. We missed you last week, so we'll circle back around on the Washington Commanders, see what Jaden Daniels does in year number 3. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good luck. I'm sure Jimmy, we usually kid about that Kool-Aid McKinstry. Maybe he's working on a new outfit for him this year.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks a lot, big dog. We appreciate it. We are here at Roca Pizzeria. We're also brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors. When you get to retirement questions, you want those questions answered long before the day comes where you do retire. When can I retire? What can I expect financially when I retire? With what I have now and what I'm putting in, what are my expectations here? Step by step with Philip Fontenot and his staff that make you feel very comfortable about your future. So no matter your age or your income at this point, they'll be able to tailor-make a plan that makes sense for you and your family, so there are no surprises when that day finally comes. CoastalCapitalADV.com is the website to set up an appointment. CoastalCapitalADV.com. Coastal Capital Advisors, member FINRA, SIPC. Take a break, come back here at Roca Pizzeria, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big, with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years. At United Community Bank, your business is our business. We support the hardworking folks behind local business, all the way from initial startup loans to ongoing planning and assessments. United Community Bank is here for you. Prentice Wilkes, Heath Muir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. Stop on by, discuss how we can help your business today. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Back here at Roca Live at lunch. Glad that you're with us today. Wes Reynolds with us in hour number 2. We'll get some golf picks from him. Lane Kiffin at the Rotary today. That's coming up here in just a little bit. We'll see if anything comes out of that. They had that more on the afternoon shows. Max, you know who Jack Strand is?
I don't.
I didn't either until this morning at about 6:30. When I was reading, Jack Strand is right at this moment the number 1 quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. They're in practice today, and he is, So Michael Penix still isn't recovered from the knee ligament tear. He's not cleared to practice yet. Tua had a flare-up of his back, I guess. Trevor Siemian was on the roster until yesterday. They waived him with it was a non-football injury. So he was out. So they signed Cooper Rush, but he's not there yet.
Okay. I was thinking it was Cooper Rush.
Well, he probably will be by the time we get to this practice tomorrow. But at least for today, it's Jack Strand. Household name, right? All right. For 50 points, where did Jack Strand go to college?
Well, I just looked it up, but I would have never known this. Never. I didn't know it was a university.
No, I feel like every player in the league, you tell me their college, I can tell you the college from a lot of them. You tell me, a college that they went to, I can tell you at least something about them. I can tell if it's not doesn't have a state name attached to it. I can tell you where it's at. I can tell you a mascot. I can tell you a game they played. Not at all familiar with Minnesota State and Moorhead. That's where he's been for the last 4 years. He's 22, 6'4", 245 pounds, and at least for one day, he's the number one quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. It's kind of a tough first week, right, for the Saints' opponents. Between the Scourton injury, which is that's real. That was a starting linebacker for Carolina. They lose on day one. The contract stuff in Tampa, and now the quarterback stuff. Look, Tua will probably be back in a few days. It's not a big deal. I'm kind of making a joke, but at least for the start, man.
There aren't many pro quarterbacks that I've never heard of, and I've never heard of Jack Strand.
And there's not many colleges that pro players are on that I've never heard of. The Minnesota State Moorhead Dragons. Jack Strand, quarterback of the Falcons. Live at lunch here from Roca Pizzeria, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
With Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Back here at Roca Live at lunch. I remind you, two great dinner options here, these events that Roca and Modesto have in the month of August as we wind down the summer. First of all, the Roca Pizzeria Negretti wine tasting, August 26th at 6 p.m., fine wines paired with chef-crafted bites. It's a terrific evening of flavor. Buy tickets at rocapizzeria.com. It's a real nice wine tasting that they're going to have. And the Modesta Tequila dinner pairing, if you're not a wine person, August the 6th from 6 until 8:30. The premium distillery Leyenda de Mexico Tequilas. Reserve your spot now at eatmodesto.com. That's August the 6th from 6 until 8:30 p.m. Saints opening camp today. It was I thought a pretty positive and uneventful, which is good, press briefing with Mickey Loomis. Loomis only does this, a handful of times a year where he meets with the media. So yesterday, Max, I thought that, first of all, there's not a whole lot as far as the injury situations. Mason Tipton's going to start on the PUP list, but for the most part, they're a healthy team. Jordan Tyson, full go. Chris Olave, full go. Don't have a whole lot on personnel that you have to worry about right now. Everybody signed for the moment. Everybody, a couple of exceptions, is healthy. There's no real contract holdouts or anything like that. Like you're going through in camp, or not holdouts, but disputes. They're still working on the extension for Olave. He didn't put a deadline on this, like I'm not going to negotiate after camp starts. So that is still on the table. He briefly mentioned Taysom Hill. I'm really not expecting Taysom back, but I guess they kind of left that door open in case something happens. But nothing expected to really happen there anytime soon. And the optimism is real. They're embracing the expectations. So a good, I thought, opening for Loomis to finally be able to go out there and say with a straight face, listen, we have expectations here and we aim to meet them. They're not. It's not a false sense of optimism. I've felt that the last few years. It's been, we can get. No, you really can't. This year, I think it's real.
Yeah, I was looking to see what Jordan Tyson, confirmed that he's good to go, and we found, Chris Olave's been off blood thinners. He had the blood clot in his lung. He's been off that for a month now. So good to see the wide receiver room mostly healthy. Tipton, that's a tough break for him because he's going to be fighting for a roster spot to be starting, off the practice field. But yeah, it's mostly good news in New Orleans, and it's funny. As much as we look at things, I just can't help but tell myself that I find myself somehow more optimistic on the Saints meeting their expectations than LSU. Now, I understand that LSU's expectations are much higher, especially relative to their competition. You've only got 12 playoff spots. I think that's kind of the goal for LSU fans, is to meet the playoffs, or it'll be considered a disappointment. For the Saints, I think making the playoffs would be considered a little bit more of a bonus. I think you just want to see progress this year, but with how easy their division is, how open it is, their schedule's the third easiest based on opposing win totals out there. I find myself thinking that the Saints are actually more likely to make the playoffs, to make the postseason, than LSU is. The odds are very, very close. The Saints are plus 184 to reach the playoffs. LSU is plus 160 to make the playoffs. So I'll ask you, Charlie, what do you think is more likely for which team to make the playoffs?
I would take the Saints if the odds were exactly the same. So if you're giving me an extra, what'd you say, plus 24, it would definitely be New Orleans. This would all change if the Saints were in the NFC North, okay, or if they were in the NFC East. But they're in the if they were in the NFC West. They're in the NFC South. They've got to beat Carolina, Tampa, and Atlanta. I think that's very doable. If that was Chicago, Detroit, and Green Bay, I wouldn't feel as good. If that was the Rams, Niners, and Seahawks, no way. If that were the Eagles, Cowboys, and I don't know quite what to think of the Commanders at this point, but I would say right now they're still ahead of the Giants. I don't feel anywhere near as good about them getting better, but not about them making the playoffs. For instance, I don't think that the Saints will be a wild card. I would say the odds should be probably 4-1 against them being a wild card, but they can win the division. When you talk about LSU making the playoffs, it's not just this SEC schedule that they've got to get through. They've got all of these other teams that could come up. For instance, what if LSU is 9-3 and there is a 10-2 team out of the ACC or the Big 12? Well, Texas didn't make it with a 9-3 record last year. I don't, without making the SEC championship game the way Alabama did. The third loss right now is still kind of the chop-off point. If you play 12 games and you lose 3 of them, you're probably not going to get into the playoffs. That, to me, is a lot more likely, given LSU's schedule, than what the Saints have. So even if those odds were exactly the same, I would take New Orleans in a heads-up deal.
I guess when I'm looking at the Saints, because I am optimistic, and I think they're still a year away. I think both LSU and the Saints are both a year away from being like really relevant. If let's say our optimism is falsely placed, where do things go down? Because I find myself more optimistic that the offense will produce kind of to where the expectations are. I believe in Tyler Shuck, although the sophomore slump, maybe that's a real thing. Maybe the opposing defense are able to key on him a little bit. I'm a little more concerned with the defense taking a significant step back from last year, at least at the end of last year, where to me they were outperforming their personnel. Now, some of that was schedule related. They got an easier run of offenses as well. But Brandon Staley did a great job, and I thought he was doing better than what he had with the overall unit. And I'm a little bit concerned about there being a drop-off on the defensive side of the ball. That's fair.
Staley, I think, is an outstanding defensive coordinator. He's not a very good head coach, but that's okay. Okay, that sometimes you get that guys that are outstanding as assistants. Maybe the head coach is not in their future. I think that's probably the case for Staley. As a defensive coordinator, he's really, really good. Your concerns would be, I've talked about all the good stuff. I should probably talk about what could pitfall this team. Number one, they don't have a number one corner. They don't have a guy that when they play somebody with an elite wide receiver can go. Like when they used to play Tampa, when Tampa had Mike Evans and they had Marshawn Lattimore, well, those two would just go at it, and Lattimore got the best of him a lot of different times. So when they go to Detroit and they play the Lions, who's going to guard St. Brown? Because St. Brown's the kind of guy who could catch 9 balls for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. A game that I think is a real toss-up when Minnesota comes to the Dome in Week 5. Who's going to guard Justin Jefferson? Jefferson can put 175 yards on the board. And there's others. That's just 2 in the first 5 weeks that, those are 2 elite receivers. And there's elite receivers up and down the board on this thing. They're going to see Jamar Chase later on in the season. Depending on how you feel about Drake London, they're going to see him twice. They don't have that number 1 corner. The second thing is I'm not certain about the pass rush. Last year, Cam Jordan had 10.5 sacks, but there were a couple of no-block sacks. There were a couple of coverage sacks. So is he going to repeat that total? I would say it's probably unlikely. Is Chase Young going to play 16 or 17 games this year? I don't know what that pass rush looks like. Replacing Demario Davis. I think Caden Ellis is a good player. Demario Davis has leadership qualities and an experience level in the league is very, very difficult to replace. So that's just 3 right there on the defensive side of the ball. And then on the offensive side, I think Shuck's going to make the jump in year number 2, but sophomore slumps can happen. Teams have more tape on you. They've had a whole off season. Your 3 division opponents know exactly what you did last year. They have an idea what maybe you can accomplish in year 2, and they'll do their best to run at your weaknesses. Once you get those 3 field, you run at those weaknesses. I think the offensive line is going to be better. They made most of the moves they had to make. But I don't know if Ruiz is going to be any better. And I don't know if the rookie's going to beat him out. Probably not. I don't know if Eric McCoy can stay healthy for an entire season. He hasn't the last 2 years. If they've got lots of running backs in the room, but if anything were to happen to Etienne or Etienne were to not have a great year, it gets thin in a hurry because he's the one for sure known guy that's in his prime. I think that the top 2 wide receivers are really good if they can stay on the field. But Olave is a concussion away from, missing significant time. And Tyson, we talked about this ad nauseum during the draft. If he's on the field, yes. But what if he's not on the field? Because there were a lot of times where he wasn't on the field. So I don't know if the kicker is going to be good enough. He can't make 75% of his kicks, and that's not good enough. So there's any number of snakes that they got to jump over, but I'd rather jump over the snakes in Carolina, Atlanta, and Tampa than the number of if I got to put them side by side, then the number of snakes that LSU's got to jump over.
Let me circle back to the pass rush because I get that the end of the season, Chase Young obviously didn't play all season, and so there was this idea of the momentum with the pass rush, and both he and Cam Jordan get the double-digit sack totals, and they bring back Cam Jordan, who I don't think is going to be seeing all that many snaps, but enough to where you can pin him back on a passing down, and maybe he'll get some sack numbers. Pass rush win rate is one of the analytics that I like to look at for the pass rush. It basically just says, how often do you beat your guy? It can be individualized to a specific player. The Saints last year were 22nd in pass rush win rate. Now, that's not great, but that is better than what they had been the last 4 years. So the last 5 years, they've been in the bottom 10, or I guess that's 11, of the league every single time. 2024, looking at that, they were 30th. 2023, they finished 27th. They were the worst in the NFL in pass rush win rate in 2022. In 2021, they were 26th. They have been bad at getting to the quarterback for quite some time, and I don't look at anything that they've really done this offseason that makes me think they're going to be, massively different in terms of, going after the quarterback.
Do you have Brian Brzez's pass rush win total from a year ago? Because his sack total was down, but the defensive analytics, I caught you flat-footed there. I didn't know if you had it in front of you.
I don't
you just got the team stuff.
He didn't finish in the top 20 in the league.
Okay.
Is what I can say.
He only had, I think, 2.5 sacks, but he, from an analytics standpoint, won a lot more of his one-on-one battles than he had in the prior years. So are you going to get any kind of interior push? That would help a lot. And maybe one of the young kids, Vernon Broughton and Christian Miller, neither one of them are looked at as big pass rushers, but
Miller's
they're both
more of a run stuffer,
they're both big people movers in the middle of that defensive line where they can give you a push. They don't have to be sacks. if they can just push pocket. Okay, we're talking about two guys who are 325 pounds or north of that. Davin Gottschall, who has been that kind of guy for most of his career, kind of faded at the end of last season. Older player now, didn't play as much in the last 4 or 5 games as he had earlier in the season. So what do they get out of that? Or any of the fill-ins, like Tyree Wilson was a guy they picked up because they couldn't get a defensive end in the draft. Well, what kind of does he give you anything? He's been a kind of a underachiever, I guess, from where he was drafted with the Raiders. So I had all kind of questions with the pass
and look,
rush.
if Staley's got the more modern type of defense, shells and zone, different type of coverages at the line of scrimmage as well. But to me, traditionally, either you have to have a really good pass rush or you have to have a really good secondary. You can't have both be bad, and they're good at safety. We like their safeties, but outside of that, I mean, are you going to put your corners on an island at times when you're not generating a pass rush? And if you can't have your corners lock anybody down, then you've got to get to the quarterback, and I think that's the dangerous part of this. I think they'll be good enough in terms of run stopping, but in games where the Saints might be in high-scoring affairs, I do worry about their ability to limit the passing game.
What did Dello say on Monday? Maybe you're playing more zone.
Well, they do that already.
More than you did last year. If that ends up being the case, now the pass rush comes on.
But you still have corners that they've got to be good zone coverage as well. That doesn't solve everything, obviously.
If you're bad in the secondary and you're bad on the pass rush, you will give up a lot of yards in the eye. No argument there. We're brought to you by the Thibodeau Store. TheThibodeauStore.com, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux, Highway 70 in Pierreport, open in LaRose and Lockport. If you're building stuff, trusted tools for every project. Listen, we told you that you can get your lumber delivered out of 2 of the locations. But if you're doing some of this building yourself, the Milwaukee brand nail guns are on special this week on the website. Also, the Milwaukee chainsaws are on special at the website. Channel Lock and DeWalt tools on special. Screwdrivers or on as well as other hand tools are on special this week. We had paint specials last week. There's still some of that left over on your spray paints. Your Rust-Oleums are 25% off right now. Your outdoor cooking equipment and your accessories, patio and poolside furniture available for you. And you go down to the Thibodeau store itself in person, you'll see that custom-made cypress furniture, the swings, the benches, the gliders, the rockers. They all make great gifts at TheThibodeauStore.com. You can get on the website. Same-day pickup is available on every item on the website, and some of these are also available for delivery. Again, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux, Highway 70 in Pierreport. The Thibodeau Store, open until 5:30 daily. Live at lunch from Roca, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Relief windows for windows, vinyl, storm impact windows, wood windows. That's like I had to. If your homeowners association requires wood windows like mine does, there's only one solution. You got to go to Relief Windows. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. I've had them for about 6 or 8 years. They are built to last in these extreme southern Louisiana weather conditions. They look brand new. They're functional on a nice fall or spring day. I love opening it up, getting some fresh air. Functional, look great, and they are no signs of deteriorating at all. Not the same with normal wood windows. It's not a cheap procedure, so do it right the right time and don't have this recurring cost a little bit later down the road like I did. Yeah, was in the market for I sure wish I'd have used Relief Windows with the original construction of my homes. For windows, doors, siding, shutter, and shades, go to ReliefWindows.com. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Relief Windows, 288-8138.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge. From east, north to south, but we're heading west. It's Wes Reynolds from VSiN.
And return here at Roca Live at lunch. Wes Reynolds joins us right now. Wes, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well, Charlie. How are you?
I'm great. Last week at the SEC, before we get to the golf, I want to talk football. Last week at the SEC Media Days, Lane Kiffin was on the final day of media days. LSU had been going first for a number of years, and there was, kind of some, tongue-in-cheek jokes. Well, they put him on the last day to make sure that everybody sticks around for the last day. Well, now we're doing Big Ten media days in Chicago this week. And who's going last? Who's the grand finale? It ain't the new coach at Michigan. It ain't the new coach at Penn State. It's not the coach at Ohio State. It is the coach of the defending national champions. You ever see the day where Kirk Cignetti is the Indiana coach is the headliner at Big Ten Media Days?
Yeah, the main event. It's tough to get used to, but I think Sig is always good at these things. And, they want to see if success, I guess, has changed him. And I don't think that it has. Like he's got even more of a chip on his shoulder than ever before, because it's like, now I got to come out and say, hey, this was no fluke. That we can do this again, that Indiana football is here to stay, and I believe that it is, even though a lot of people are projecting, because all the buzz has been, of course, Ohio State and Oregon, and it always is, because they're the most talented teams in the conference if you look at the recruiting rankings, just talent for talent on the roster. But you think that he's about to prove it again, and I think Indiana, and I think they have a favorable schedule. You're breaking in that new quarterback with Hoover, so I think that, they're here to stay. Like, they're not going to all of a sudden drop off the face of the earth and go 7-5 or 8-4. I don't anticipate that, but yeah, we're getting close. I'm getting excited for it, and I've been watching some of the Big Ten media coverage on BTN. So, gosh, it seems so far, but yet so close right now.
Wes, you brought up Josh Hoover. It got me thinking. One of the things in media days we talked about here with LSU was we did not get to hear from Sam Levitt, who did not come. And Lane Kiffin brought up that he was back at practice, back in Baton Rouge, working on things, getting used to things, especially coming off the injury. I went back and looked last year. Fernando Mendoza had won the Heisman Trophy, obviously won a national championship, but was not at media days. And he was also not at the Manning Passing Academy, which he's originally scheduled to do. And the reports were that Kurt Cignetti wanted him to stay back, learn the offense, get acclimated. So my question is with Hoover, who comes in, had a lot of passing yards, also a lot of picks. How hands-on is Kurt Cignetti with his quarterback, and how involved is he? And have you heard much about his whole process of getting his quarterbacks involved in the offseason, maybe a little more hands-on than other coaches?
Yeah, and I think Kurt Cignetti also trusts Max. He trusts Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, and then Gino Cincinnati is now back as quarterbacks coach after he had a year at UCLA. With Hoover, obviously that's the book on him, is that he can fling it all around the yard, but that he turns it over a little bit too much. So I think what you're going to see Indiana, I think, run the ball a little bit more, at least early on in the season, because they have 4 starters back on the offensive line, and really 5 if you count Joe Brunner, who transfers in from Wisconsin. So you're going to see them run the ball a little bit. You're not going to see Hoover maybe do as much RPO, I don't think, because Mendoza was a better athlete, and he might look small on television, but he's a big dude. And Josh Hoover, I think, is very generously listed as 6'2". He might be about 6'5" or 6'1", but he's not necessarily the runner or the athlete that Mendoza is, even though the arm strength is there. So, it's probably a little bit of baby steps here, but they've got plenty of weapons, and they especially got a good offensive line. I never thought I'd see the day where IU was amongst the national elite in terms of offensive line, but here we are. So you're going to see them run the ball a lot, I think, and maybe keep it basic early with the schedule pretty easy in terms of the non-conference, and maybe not reveal the whole arsenal right away.
All right, let's move on to the golf. Last week, Jackson Coyven, the wonder kid out of Auburn, won in his 3rd professional start. And I'm sure that, when he's telling his story to his grandkids many, many years from now, he'll say, and I held off the world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, in the final round of my first ever professional win. Scheffler really never got in a position to put serious pressure on him, Wes, but Coyven was poised enough to shoot 66 on the last day anyway. I understand it wasn't the most difficult course, but only 3 events in, this guy goes out and blisters this course. What did you think? Because he came in with so much hype based on what he had done as an amateur, and now off to a great start in his pro career.
Yeah, Charlie, we were kind of waiting to see, okay, when's this guy going to win? Because it's probably going to come sooner rather than later. I didn't know that sooner was going to be third professional start on the PGA Tour, but you thought maybe in the fall series. Maybe he wins at like the Sanderson Farms or the event out in Napa, one of those September, October events. But this guy's clearly got the goods. And, you know, you never want to, necessarily crown a guy, I think, too early. We're always hesitant to do that. But I think that this guy's going to be a regular winner, and he's being talked about for President's Cup. And I think probably rightfully so. Maybe that group needs a little bit of new blood. Maybe you need a new young player too. Chris Goddard, I think, is certainly going to be part of that mix come the fall for the President's Cup. So I think that it's a good thing, and I think it's good to get new blood out there. And this guy, like, he's got it all. Like, he putted well last week. His iron's great. He's plenty long enough not off the tee. He's not necessarily a bomber, but he's got the complete game, and we saw that in college, and it's transferring to the tour right now.
Wes, you talked about new blood. Charlie, you might know, I'm sure Wes knows this stat. Charlie, you might not know this. Next year at major championships, there will not be a single player under the age of 30 that currently holds a major. There's been this young surge of great players who were supposed to be the next coming, Hovland, Ober, whatnot, that have yet to win a major. And so, Wes, my question to you is, where does Koiven rank among these 20-somethings in terms of getting that next major?
Yeah, and Max, I'm kind of trying to figure that out because you mentioned some good names there that we thought would have had major championships by now, but don't, with Hovland and Ober and some of these other young guys.
Sam Burns just turned 30, right?
He's 30.
Yeah, just turned 30.
Yeah, he seems like he's an old veteran, like he's in his mid-30s, like he's been out there forever, but he's kind of just starting to scratch the surface, I think, as a major championship contender. But I think Koiven, usually when you're going for a major championship, you kind of need to get close one time, maybe go through a little bit of pain before you finally break through, but the talent is obviously there, but some guys like peak early, like a Jordan Spieth. Remember, he won right away, and it's like, oh man, like this guy's going to be the stuff of legends. And now it's like, is he ever going to win again? So that's what's weird, maybe fun about golf, is that you never know. You never know. Some guys are late bloomers, and some guys peak very early. And hopefully not for Koiven that he peaks early. I think he's got some staying power.
Won in his third professional start. Took Tiger Woods 5, his first win in Las Vegas in his rookie year. So just
putting more pressure on him, huh, Charlie?
Of course, if we're going to compare him to somebody, let's compare him to somebody that's really good. Tiger Woods is really good. All right, Wes, let's go to the Rocket Classic, the PGA Tour in Detroit this week. Obviously, not an elevated event, but what we're looking at here in Detroit tomorrow.
Yeah, good field, surprisingly enough, and I think one of the reasons is because they changed this course to a par 70. So this course now at Detroit kind of resemble a little bit of Memphis or Bellerive, where they're having a BMW in a couple weeks, or East Lake for the Tour Championship. So you're getting some bigger names like the Cameron Youngs and the Xander Schauffele's. But I started in the mid-range, and I did go with Jake Knapp, who finally, I think, had a really good event last week. He ended up T13, but he had a 62 on Sunday, third in approach in the field. And remember, he started out like a house of fire, and then all of a sudden he got that thumb and wrist injury at the RBC Heritage, and then missed a couple months, and then missed a cut at the U.S. Open, had 3 or 4 missed cuts. But I think finally having a good finish is maybe something to build on, so I was willing to take a buy here on Jake Knapp. Ryan Gerard, who's around 40 to 1-ish. Very good in birdie or better, very good on approach. He's another guy that's been looking for that win this year that's been really close. 3 runners-up. Not quite as many as Scotty, who now has 5, but 3 runner-up finishes. He's secure in the playoffs, the FedEx Cup playoffs. He got this event and then next week before that. So he's focused on getting that win. Akshay Bhatia at 45 to 1 does have a win this year at the ATI. Not so good in the majors, though. Missed 3 or 4 cuts. Was runner-up here 2 years ago, but was second on approach. He actually ranked number 1 in putting on the PGA Tour, so you have some changes in these greens, like some more breaks, some more contours, and bigger greens. So I think he will be able to adjust to that. Davis Thompson, about 60-something to 1. He is just outside looking in the FedEx Cup points. So the guy was runner-up here a couple years ago. P7 last week at the 3M, where he was only behind Jackson Toiven, by the way, for ball striking, 63-66 on the weekend for Thompson. And then a couple of the bombs here, Rio Hitasane, 80 to 1, 10th in total driving in this field. He's made 20 cuts in a row, 5 top 10s throughout the season. So maybe he's kind of like Gerard. Like, he's played well enough where it's like, okay, he should have a win here in 2026. Hasn't gotten it yet. And same for Jackson Stuber, who did miss the cut last week. And I'll tie him in with Johnny Kiefer, who's just a little bit under 100 to 1. These are guys that were widely tipped last week but didn't make the cut because that's the first time as professionals they went over for that Scottish Open Championship 2 weeks over there in Europe. And, might have been a little bit of rusty, and a little bit slow to get out of the gate. But I think that you could buy on the dip here, and they will both play well this week. So Jackson Stuber, Johnny Kiefer, and then one other bomb here for you, William Mao, who missed the cut last week, despite actually leading the field through 2 rounds for Stokes gain ball striking, which what does that tell you? He couldn't putt. He rated dead last in the field, actually, for putting. So he might get a spike week this week. 3rd in total driving, 13th on approach. Big number for this guy, and we've seen big numbers hit here in Detroit in the past. So William Mao, my long shot that I saw at about 130 to 1 out there in the market.
All right, Wes, before we let you go, we're watching Daniel Jones throw in Colts camp, and I'm trying to figure out if this is today's footage, yesterday's footage, or if this is footage from some other time. What with the Colts starting quarterback are you hearing? It seems like he's been cleared and is ready to go.
He has been, and I think it's been a little bit of a wait and see because I've kind of been joking about this because at every NFL stadium they have certain players like their murals or their pictures on the side of the building. And what does it say about the Indianapolis Colts that your quarterback's not there but your offensive guard is there? Granted, that offensive guard is going to go into the Hall of Fame, probably Quentin Nelson. So there's a little bit of uncertainty there with Jones, but they kind of cast their lot with him when they made that trade for Sauce Gardner mid-season when the Colts were leading the division and right in the midst of maybe making a run to the playoffs. And then, of course, they lost 7 straight to end the season. But, Jones is the guy, and they traded their draft capital, so they were kind of, stuck with him, even if he's not the guy. So if he can throw, and especially if he can run, because I think Shane Steichen really had a good offense called for him where he used his running ability a little bit. He's got plenty of good weapons. Maybe not so much at receiver. Not a lot of high-end talent necessarily at receiver. Alec Pierce, by the way, is still on the PUP list, so he's kind of your number one as you let Micah Pittman go to the Steelers. But, obviously you don't want to necessarily go with Richardson or Riley Leonard. You kind of saw that last year. So hopefully he can throw well, but I think the Colts are going to be what they've been the last several years. They're going to be either 8-9 or 9-8. That's just what they're going to be. And, beat a team they shouldn't beat and then lose to a team that they should beat. So that I think we're in for another kind of middle road season for the Colts.
See that, Max? 8-9, 9-8 in the NFC South. You're looking at the playoffs. In the AFC South, probably 9 wins might not it ain't going to win the division.
Good luck, but AFC South, there's some openings there too. Houston,
I'll take our division. I'll take the Saints division.
I will too. NFC South's easier
from a competition standpoint. Wes, we always appreciate the time. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week. Jimmy will be back from the coast.
You bet, fellas. Thanks for having me, as always.
And we're brought to you by Total Maintenance. You want fewer AC breakdowns, lower energy bills, year-round peace of mind. Join the Total Maintenance Elite membership plan. You're going to get service multiple times a year. You're going to get big discounts on your diagnostics and your repair. When you sign up, you get a bonus credit of $200 in Total Maintenance bonus credit. You have a great system. There's an app. If you're notified of any breakdowns, you get when you get to the Elite membership plan, you get 50% off of your monthly fee. regular maintenance. It keeps your AC running. Look, AC's been working hard this summer. Believe me. You want to keep that system running efficiently before you run into any other problems. Total maintenance, 480-0007, 225-480-0007, and the elite membership plan at Total Maintenance. Service today, every day at Total Maintenance. Come back with our consensus golf picks here live at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our Wednesday consensus golf picks are brought to you by Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown.
All right, we're back here at Roca Pizzeria. Max, the Rocket Classic, Detroit Golf Club, Detroit, Michigan, tomorrow morning. Who you like?
Yeah, I'm just looking for a winner. The drought continues, another close call, but nevertheless, we've got some time still left in golf season to hit a couple winners. I'm going to start off with Wyndham Clark, who before the Open Championship was probably the hottest golfer in the world, considering that he actually won, unlike Scheffler. He had 2 wins in the span of 6 starts. He had 4 top 5s in the span of 6 starts, and then missed the cut of the Open. But the good news for him is Detroit Golf Club, especially the new Detroit Golf Club, which has been changed a little bit. Typically when we get new greens, they're firm conditions. The boots on the ground reporting this week is that the greens are still pretty soft and receptive, and I think that'll favor a player like Wyndham Clark, who's just been lighting it up completely. He's just a great player. His best finish here out of 3 starts, he finished 8th back in 2022. He was not the same golfer that he is now. So Wyndham Clark, I'm going to start with him, just playing one of the better players in this field at 24-1. Hideki Matsuyama is 33-1. Hideki, typically a great player when you put a wedge in his hands, and there are a lot of holes where you'll have 50 to 125 yards into the green. Finished 3rd place, kind of backdoored a top 5 finish last week. Had a great finish, chipped in, I believe, on 17, and then holed out for eagle on 18. So he's got that going for him, but he also wasn't very good with his irons, which is very uncharacteristic for Hideki. I think that bounces back. His putter's been pretty good as of late, so I think Hideki just playing a guy of good pedigree who I trust on a Sunday at 33-1. Ben Griffin is 35-1. He's somebody who won a lot last year, has yet to win this season, at least not in 2026, but is starting to play a little bit better. The putter is always a strength of Ben Griffin's, but his iron play is coming back around to the form that he had last year. 59th at the Open, but had a few top 25 finishes before then. And I think, again, you put a shorter iron, a shorter wedge into his hands. I like Ben Griffin's chances with those clubs. Akshay Bhatia is 45-1. You heard him mentioned by Wes earlier. Someone who has a win earlier this year at a signature event, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. 5th place at the Travelers last time he played in America. Did miss the cut at the Open as well, but finished runner-up here back in 2024. Typically a good enough player with his wedge game as well. You give him a scoring club, he should have a chance to make a birdie. It's just sometimes the putter holds him back, but it's been good enough as of late. I think back on bent grass greens that we'll see this week. Maybe he can get it done on this Donald Ross design. And then 3 long shots here. Seamus Power is 130-1. Just a wedge player. I'm just playing a guy who, with his wedges specifically, this bucket of clubs that you're going to see a lot into greens, he is outstanding there. Not so much with long irons, but I think there'll be less of that this week. Finished 10th last week at the 3M Open, so starting to show a little bit with top 20s in his last 2 starts. Billy Horschel is 170-1. I mean, he's won the FedEx Cup before. He's a pretty good player. He's been in a bit of a slump as of the last couple of seasons. Dealt with injuries last year. Actually, early this year, he had his own injury, I believe. But his iron play has been outstanding. He's gained on approach in his last 7 starts, finished 13th last week. The putter has held him back, but I do trust that if the putter gets hot at the right time, he would be able to close on a Sunday. And Charlie, it's been a while since I hit a winner, but I think I can sell you on this guy because he's 500-1 to win outright. And you can play him
Ricky Fowler wouldn't be that.
Ricky Fowler, I can't sell you on him, but just any long shot at 500-1 to win. He's 7-1 to come top 20, plus 230 to finish top 40. And I'll circle that top 40 market for Davis Chatfield. Davis Chatfield, you've probably never heard of him. He's not a long hitter at all. He has never won on the Korn Ferry Tour, the PGA Tour whatsoever, but he's a shorter hitter that does do well in these wedge ranges. He's gained on approach in his last 4 starts, and he's gotten the putter going as of late. Now, he's never played here, but the reason I circled that top 40 market is he's come top 40 in his last 4 starts. Granted, not in elevated events, not in signature events, but last week at the 3M, there was a decent field. Scotty Scheffler was playing. He finished 16th. Some of the alt-field events, up against the Open, up against the Genesis Scottish Open, he finished inside the top 40 as well, including a 5th place at the ISCO. So just a guy who's way down on the list, who's nobody thinking about, probably not even noticing the type of form that he's in. 500 to 1 to win outright, plus 1750 top 10, 7-1 top 20, and plus 230 for a top 40 finish. You ladder him in some sort of way. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I think he's in good enough form to have value this week. But our consensus pick is Akshay Bhatia at 45 to 1.
Give me the spell of guy's name.
Davis Chatfield.
Chatfield.
C-H-A-T.
Got it.
Field.
Okay.
It sounds like a country music
Chatfield
type of guy. Davis Chatfield. I feel like I've heard him on one of these country stations.
Maybe did a guest spot on Hee Haw. All right. Our consensus golf picks are brought to you by Dana Brown, the law offices of O.C. Brown, 343-1111 or ocbrown.com. Jimmy and I have used Dana and his team of attorneys many times over the years for various legal needs. You can schedule that initial consultation, which is free, at 343-1111. Specialized people all throughout that office, regardless of what you are looking for. They can help you out, your law firm, for a lifetime, whether it be a state when you're settling an estate, whether you've been in an accident, whether you have a divorce, or whatever your legal needs are, they can help you out. Believe me, we've run the gambit with them on a lot of different things. 343-1111 and ocbrown.com. Back to wrap it up here at Roca Pizzeria, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
With Ott and Hanny from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Major League Baseball last night. Tommy White, who has now played 10 Major League Baseball games, had another 4-hit night. He's had 2 4-hit nights in his first 10 games in the big leagues. He was 4 for 4 last night and scored a couple of runs. He's now hitting .359 for the 10 games, 14 for 39. So there's a few other things that are surprising about that. First of all, he's come out of the gate, 10 games, hitting .359. That's awesome. Only 3 strikeouts in now 44 plate appearances. That's really good. Only 2 walks. Okay, that's fine if you're hitting. You don't need to pile up the walks. Somehow he has gotten 14 hits in 10 games and not driven in a run. I think that's more bad luck than anything. But Tommy White is off to a sizzling start with the A's, and he had 4 hits in 4 at-bats.
Well. Just Tommy hits now. He's a little slimmer.
He's a lot slimmer, man. That's the first thing. When you see it, it's like, whoa, is that the same guy? He is down a good 20, 25 pounds.
And also Gage Jump with a big bounce back, 6 scoreless. He had a couple rough outings, but bounced back in a big way yesterday as well.
It was a really good June for him, a really tough July. He was coming off of the most runs he had given up so far in his career with 6 in the last one. He had 6 shutout innings last night. And the Nationals last night, Dylan Cruz hit his 9th home run of the season. The average is still down in the 229, 230, 235 range, but a little bit of power numbers since coming back up. 9 home runs now in, I think it's 180 at-bats. So the power numbers starting to come up a little bit.
Oh, we've got big news just breaking. We just talked about the pass rush. Ian Rappaport reporting that Brian Brzee feared to have suffered a torn ACL.
Come on, man.
So that is terrible news.
Are you serious?
Just breaking here from Ian Rappaport. So Brian Brzee, you just talked about, great numbers.
What the, I said this not an hour
go.
ago. I just wanted no drama here. You're gonna ding me a starting defensive tackle on day one, man. That sucks. I'm sorry. That really sucks.
He just had his 5th-year option picked up for 2027.
Of course he did.
Nick Underhill also seems to suggest
didn't make it to halfway through the first bleepity-bleep day, and I lose a starter. All right, that's the whole NFC South now. The things, Scourton and Carolina.
We were flower and roses all. We're rose-colored on YouTube.
Hopeful.
We're rose-colored all the time with the Saints, and here we are. The bearer of bad news. Sorry.
Day frickin' one. Let's finish out with some good news. At least good news for Grant Delpit. He got a new contract today.
Yeah, Grant Delpit, one of the longest tenured Browns players now. Right there with Denzel Ward. Myles Garrett got traded, and so he is going to be staying there longer term as well. A 3-year extension worth $16 million per year. That includes $35 million guaranteed. It's his 3rd NFL contract that will tie him to Cleveland through 2029. That's according to Adam Schefter.
I remember his first practice in 2017. Gordy went. I didn't make it that day, so I called him after the practice and said, "What did you see?" He goes, "Listen, 9 can play." One of the last guys to wear 9. Before he changed at the end. And, of course, Burrow took over 9. And they ain't letting anybody wear 9 anytime soon. He says, not 9, the freshman.
And
he can play.
Really, really honorable the way he went through that 2019 season with the injury. You could tell he was injured all year and fought through it and obviously was part of huge success that year.
Get your tickets for the Roca Pizzeria Negretti wine tasting August 26th at rocapizzeria.com. The Modesto Tequila dinner pairing August the 6th from 6 until 8:30 p.m. Laneda de Mexico tequilas. Go to eatmodesto.com. Thanks to everybody for participating. Have a great day. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.